Rashid Al-Mansur, billionaire oil magnate, real estate tycoon, and a man feared across boardrooms from London to Shanghai, sat behind a massive walnut desk, his dark eyes flashing with barely contained fury. His fingers drummed a steady, impatient rhythm against the desk's surface. "I told you, Kareem," barked at his assistant, his voice carrying the deep authority of a man used to instant obedience, "I do not tolerate mistakes." And yet, here we are again. Another incompetent hire. Kareem shifted uncomfortably, clutching a folder to his chest. "Sir, she's only been here for a week. She's still learning the ropes." Rashid's jaw tightened. "In my company, there is no learning curve. There is only excellence, or unemployment." The door opened timidly. She stepped in. Her name was Emily Carter, a petite young woman in her mid-20s, with chestnut brown hair neatly tied back and a crisp navy blue uniform. She clutched a small notepad, her knuckles white, and her eyes, large, hazel, and wary, flicked briefly to the billionaire before she quickly lowered them. She had been hired as a junior administrative aide in the logistics division, a position she desperately needed. What Kareem had told Rashid was that Emily's situation was far from ordinary. She was in Dubai on a limited visa, with barely enough savings to cover a month's rent. If she lost this job, she wouldn't just be unemployed, she would be stranded, with nowhere to go. Rashid, however, didn't see any of that. To him, Emily was just another foreign employee who couldn't keep up with his demands. "Miss Carter," said sharply. "Do you know why you're here?" Emily swallowed hard. "Sir, you're here," Rashid cut her off, "because, in this morning's meeting with Arcubite partners, you failed to hand me the correct files on time. Do you realize how humiliating it is for me to sit in silence while my staff fumbles like children?" Her mind raced. She had tried, she'd been up late the night before preparing everything, but the document labels had been mixed during a last-minute change. She wanted to explain, but something about Rashid's piercing glare made her tongue feel heavy. "I apologize, sir," she managed softly. "Apologies do not recover lost respect," snapped. "I built this empire with precision, discipline, and speed. If my staff cannot match that, they have no place here." Kareem stepped in quickly. "Sir, perhaps if we..." "Enough, Kareem." Rashid's voice was final. His gaze returned to Emily. "You have 1 minute to convince me why I shouldn't have security escort you out right now." The words hit her like a blow. 1 minute. 60 seconds to salvage her future in this city. Emily's fingers tightened around her notepad. Her first instinct was to defend herself, to explain what had gone wrong, but she could see in his eyes that excuses would only make things worse. She needed something else, something I didn't expect. And then, like a spark, she remembered something she had been keeping to herself all week. Back in university, she had majored in linguistics, with a focus on Middle Eastern languages. She had studied Arabic for years, mastering not only modern Standard Arabic but also regional dialects. It had been a personal passion, a way to connect with a culture she admired deeply. She hadn't told anyone at work because, frankly, she didn't think they'd care. Now, she wondered if it could save her. She took a slow breath, lifted her chin, and looked him directly in the eye for the first time since entering the room. And then she spoke, not in English, but in flawless, lyrical Arabic. "Sir Rashid, I take full responsibility for my mistake. But I ask you to allow me to prove that I have far more to offer your company." The room went still. Kareem's eyes widened. Rashid froze, his pen mid-tap, his expression shifting from irritation to something else, surprise. Emily pressed on, her voice steady but respectful. I have studied Arabic for years, and I also understand Gulf dialects. If you allow me, it can be a bridge between you and our Arab partners, without the need for translators. I will ensure such confusion never happens again. For a moment, Rashid simply stared at her, his dark eyes searching her face as if trying to gauge whether this was some rehearsed trick. He leaned back in his chair, folding his arms. Where did you learn to speak like that? He asked finally, in Arabic. Emily didn't miss a beat. At university, and also from Arab friends. I wanted to understand the culture, not just the words. Something softened, just slightly, in his gaze. Rashid was a man used to foreigners mangling his language, turning its poetry into clumsy sounds. But here was a young woman from halfway across the world speaking it with clarity, respect, and the subtle rhythm only someone who truly listened could master. Kareem, sensing a shift, spoke courteously. Sir, if I may, perhaps Miss Carter's skills could be more useful than we realized. Rashid's eyes didn't leave Emily. We'll see. Sit. Emily obeyed, her heart still pounding. The next half hour was unlike anything she had expected. Rashid began kissing her, in Arabic, about the company's current projects, their Gulf-based partners, and even obscure cultural references from various Arab regions. Emily answered each question calmly, sometimes even smiling when she recognized a trick question hidden in his phrasing. It was clear he was testing her. And, to her own astonishment, she was passing. But then Rashid's tone shifted. You know, Miss Carter, he said, switching back to English, speaking my language is impressive. But in my world, loyalty is more important than talent. If you stay here, you will work harder than you've ever worked in your life. You will be tested. You will be watched. And if you make another mistake like today's, he paused, letting the silence speak for him, there will be no second chance. Emily met his gaze. I understand, sir. And I'm ready. He studied her for another long moment, then finally leaned back and said, fine. You stay. For now. Kareem let out a quiet sigh of relief. But Emily knew this wasn't the end of the conversation, it was just the beginning. She had bought herself time, but now she had to prove she was worth the risk he had just taken. As she left the office, her legs felt weak with adrenaline. Yet under that, there was something else, a quiet determination. She had just faced one of the most intimidating men in the Middle East and walked away not only employed, but with a sliver of his respect. What she didn't know yet was that this single moment, this decision to speak in his language, would lead her into a world of secrets, high-stakes deals, and dangerous rivalries that would test her more than she could ever imagine. And Rashid, Tafe didn't admit it out loud, he found himself strangely curious about this young woman who had dared to challenge him in his own tongue.